Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff, Needell and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup. There's no Formula One this weekend. It's gone a bit quiet and it's all on holiday, but business as usual over in the USA with plenty of action from Indycar and NASCAR as well. Down under, the Supercars took on Paperclip, or it is the Paperclip, I think they call it as. The Paperclip. Back home, there's the British Rally Championship, headed to Scotland, and the thrilling BSB bikes, British Superbikes, thrilled a big crowd at Thruxton, your home circuit. I'm delighted to be back. Nice to be speaking to you in the comfort of my own kitchen. A bit of news though, Tiff, before we go on. What have you got? I think you got a couple of things. I got the bad news. I'll start off with Power Max Racing. Their unit burnt down, so really tragic because I can't imagine. Forget the stuff in there. It's just not forget the stuff in there. Some priceless stuff in there as well, but just the whole thing is affecting people and lives, but thankfully no one was hurt. I guess
fire is the worst. When it cleans out your house in California, when everything gets burned. I was reading, Adam Weaver, the owner, was just saying that, just everything's gone. And to rebuild, it's just horrendous. And the two Vauxhall Astras, and of course, BTCC's had a problem a couple of weeks because we had Steve Dudman due to ill health, not running his Honda Civics for the One Motorsport team. That was at Croft, and also not going to Inglestown. So that was 2 cars less. We had Jake Hill, who didn't run at Croft because he had an ear infection that causes him balance. I'm trying to find out news of him. There's nothing on his Twitter or anything to find out whether he's going to be good. He's probably waiting until the last day at Knockhill this weekend, and maybe Turkington will turn up again. Otherwise, we might be down to about 20 cars, if we don't have one BMW, and we've lost the 2 Astras and we lost the Honda Civics. Tricky times and annoying for BTCC, but the entertainment will still go on. I have absolutely no doubt.
I think I think they lost a Metro 6R4 as well. You drove one of those back in the Top Gear days.
I've got a rally card though.
Yeah. Shame.
Yes.
Just on that subject, my brother-in-law in Australia was telling me his friend, his best mate, house burned down, everything. He said not just the phone and things like that. He said, but just getting your spectacles to read something or just everything. Everything's gone. Awful.
Terrible.
Anyway, Brighton news. What else in the news?
Formula One, James Vowles, obviously Formula One, mostly on holiday, but James Vowles has been doing interviews about the 2026 regulations that most of us are dreading. But he does say it's going to definitely increase the mental load. He quickly says to journalists, he said that if someone says, "Oh, they're terrible, these cars, it's awful to drive," ask them how many goes on the simulator you've had. Because he reckons when they all go on the simulator for the first time, they're all saying, "Oh, I can't drive, this is awful." So he's saying, let them be, when they've been twice on the simulator, there's 3 times on the simulator. Because he says, that always happens. They'll get used to these things. But Alex Albon, this is on Williams, obviously have been having a little news chat. He says, it's just accentuated the mental stress of what you could do while driving a racing car around Monaco a million miles an hour. Because he's pointing to Formula E, where they have to change the regen and mucking about. All the time, the Formula E boys are mucking about. Like they go slow to save power. They go fast for a bit. And he says there's going to be a lot of that. And Vowles was saying the overtaking of anything is going to be accentuated because there's no DRS. We've got this manual override mode, which each car will have, which is some sort of push to pass power button. Mom. I've just realised it's MOM, mom. DRS sounds a bit sexy though, mom.
Mom.
So they will have
mom. Sorry,
manual override mode.
Okay,
which is
that's
mom.
Mob
Mode. MOM. Mode.
Okay.
Manual.
Well, you said button. You
mode.
Well,
you press a
button
to make it work.
Like but that would make it mob, wouldn't it? Mom.
No, you press a button to engage your DRS. There's no B in DRS. You'll press a button to engage MOM, your mom.
You just said it was a mode. Yeah, anyway.
Mom. It's a mode, but you start it with a button. But what Val says is it's going to be accentuated overtaking, if anything, because someone will be managing their lap differently, and there might be sudden sort of drive-bys, whoosh. A bit like sort of too much DRS. You'll suddenly have your car in the right settings that you'll be able to just whisk past someone. I still don't think that helps me make any more excited about these new regulations at all.
Could be the best season ever in the history of Formula One.
Meanwhile, the rally world's also debating its new regulations coming in 2017, a year later than the Formula One we're talking about, when we're talking about a space frame chassis, which I'm not quite sure who's building them, whether it's individual teams or it's a central manufacturers all get together to build a space frame around which you add the Rally 2 car's suspension. So not the very advanced suspension from the current Rally 1. Hyundai are still on the edge. So we've only got Toyota and Ford talking about being there in 2017, or definitely going to be there. But it could bring a lot of independent teams. If it's €345,000, the full price, which is the same sort of price. So I think the current Rally 2 car is about £300,000. There's loads of privateers rally them in the World Championships. So they've got big numbers. So even if it's not manufacturer supported, it could get a lot more cars in, being competitive in the World Rally. So I'm all for it. Anything that simplifies things, because it's got too complicated, doesn't it, nowadays? That's why things get too expensive.
When did we do that Rallycross feature with the starred electric Rallycross car? Because
that's all got a bit quiet.
Yeah, but wouldn't electric cars be quite good in rally and WRC?
Well, they're saying this space frame will be adaptable in the future. They have hybrids and then maybe full electric. But imagine trying to charge those up to do.
Well, what happened? They'd be charging them up with big diesel generators because they're in the middle of the forest in Finland.
I've just done a recent film of an electric car around a racetrack, and a street car. Won't give anything away now, but I can assure you the battery disappearance when you actually go full throttle around a racetrack in an electric road car is shocking. So quite how they'll make a full force, we agreed with the Rallycross. It was quite a good idea because it was just a 5-minute race, a 10-minute race, but you can't recharge after every stage in a forest in Finland, can you? It's not.
Well, you would have to, the only way you'd have to do it would if you could take the battery out and put it back in again and a new one in.
So every stage you've got to do a
you could do that with a starred car. So every stage you'd have to do that. But anyway,
so that's it. So rules, they are changing.
I guess they've got to evolve, but sometimes it works out well, and other times it's a
V8 complete aspirated Formula One cars. They'll be changing.
V10 naturally aspirated Formula
One
cars.
Get in there, Ben. The only good thing Ben Suleiman says is
V10, support. Surely not V8. Why would you want?
Well,
would you want
V8? V10. I don't care. Just a normally naturally aspirated V something with artificial fuel and let them go. So Indycars, they're changing their cars in a couple of years' time as well, because Indycars have the same chassis, Dallara chassis, for 10 years, I think now. They were at Pocono, and I did warn you last week that it's a dull track and no crowd again. It worries me. I see these amazingly entertaining teams, cars, 27 cars, all colours racing, and because I think if you go to Pocono, you're going to get a procession where you don't understand what's going on. The middle of the race is they're all on different strategies. They're changing from hard tyres to soft tyres. They're refueling. You'll suddenly get a full course yellow, which interrupts your entire strategy and puts you at the back or puts someone else at the front. So I was a bit lost in the middle of the races, who was really winning and who was losing. But as always, once you come down to the last 20 laps, but you've all had your pit stops. You're all on your final stint. Unfortunately, this time, we ended up with a 3-car battle at the head of the field. Sometimes it just reveals a procession. But this time, we did have a really good race come alive with Will Power out front, holding off the fast-closing Christian Lundgaard, who was holding off a fast-cloning Alex Palau. So it was a really good battle. And the other great thing is that they caught back markers. And, of course, in IndyCar, you don't have blue flags. You don't have to move over. And, of course, you're allowed to fight to stay on the lead lap. Because should there be a last-minute full-course yellow, you get right way in the back and you might then have a chance to overtake people. So that was the tension, that Power was trying to hold off the people behind him, whilst at the same time trying to get past people that didn't want him to overtake. So it was very entertaining. I have to say, the last 20 laps, a lot of tension. But again, because it's a track you can't overtake on, nobody really overtook. Palau had a few really good goes at Lundgaard, because Palau had the better tyres. He'd stopped last. He actually had the better tyres. But it was an entertaining finale. Much as I say most of the race was a dull confusion of cars going round and round. Anyway, Palou held on to third. Nobody changed places. Willpower won, which finally gave the Aussie, who's a bit of a disgruntled man half of the time, is famous for his temper and blaming everybody else. But it's like Nigel Mansell, to be honest. When things go wrong, it's all the world's up against him. And of course, he hasn't been confirmed for Penske next year. So, and he hadn't won all year. So he was very much, I've won now. I'm still here. I mean, he's 44 years old. He was the champion in 2014 and 2022, two-time champion. It's his 15th year with Penske. It's amazing how long they stay in America. They stay one team for much longer than Formula One people tend to. There's a lot of talk about this young American, David Malukas, taking a place at Penske, because Penske's had the same drivers now for about 10 years, it feels like. So he's not definitely in. It's interesting. I mean, he came over to Europe like Aussies do, and he did British Formula 3 when he was younger. Didn't really star particularly. But there was an Australian that sponsored an IndyCar team, which took him to Australia, and then he did quite well in his first season before Penske picked him up. So a win for Willpower. Christian Lundgaard, this really quick McLaren driver who everyone rates now, he had a 6-place grid penalty because of a new engine, or 5 places. He was on pole position, got his first pole position, but had to take a grid drop to about 7th to have an engine changed. So he came through to 2nd, and Palou came through to 3rd to claim the championship with 2 races still to run. So he's now won 4 of the last 5 IndyCar titles, including now 3 on the trot. He won 7. How many have I written it down? So how many did he win of the races? I think it's 7 of the 16. I'm sure I had that written down. I haven't got it written down somewhere. Oh, it's 8. He's won 8 of the 15 rounds so far.
Wow.
So I just hope for the
who's his teammate?
Well, he's got Kiffin Simpson, who's a bit of a brought money with him, renter boy, and Scotty Dixon. They're the Ganassi boys.
Because that's typically how you can judge how good they are. Not always just their wins, because if you've got a dominant car, it's often down to the teammate as well. Yeah,
but the way he wins, the way he drives, that's smooth. He fell off in qualifying. He only qualified about 5th or 6th, I think, because he had an off in his qualifying match. So he can make mistakes. But I just hope that Cadillac, someone goes to ask Ganassi to release him from his contract, because if he stays another year in IndyCar and wins it again, maybe nobody's turning up because this Spanish kid, yes, not Portuguese, no, is dominating the formula. So he's ruining the whole flipping thing. But anyway, so it was a good race, but Palou is now champion. They have such a short season. I don't know why IndyCar cram everything into the summer, because they've only got 2 more rounds.
I know, that's so bizarre. I was looking at that over the weekend. Really bizarre.
It's 6 months, April the 5th to August the 31st. So it's a packed 6 months, and 6 months off completely, which is a very weird way to run. If you're going to keep interest in your formula, it seems to be the wrong way around.
Yeah.
But it was a dull track, small crowd, but an exciting, tense run to the finish line if no overtaking took place. Then NASCAR over where were we down? Where's Pocono? I don't know where Pocono is. Pocono, somewhere in America. Then we went over to NASCAR for the Bowling at the Glen sponsored, and it was great entertainment. I mean, this is why I go on about NASCAR. You have 3. You have, instead of Formula 1, Formula 2, and Formula 3, you've got the Cup cars, then the Xfinity cars, and the trucks. And if you're there for a weekend camp, you get the truck race on the Friday, 36 trucks on the Friday. They were spinning off, green, white, yellow flags, checkered flags flying all over the place. Huge entertainment. Then on the Saturday, you get the Xfinity race, 38 cars. And this Watkins Glen track they go around, it's only about 2 miles long. I've written it down, so 2.4 miles long. So it's like Thruxton lengths with 38 great monstrous V8s piling around it.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
But it had a dramatic, the Xfinity race on the Saturday, this battle between the 2 trackhouse cars of the 36-year-old Kiwi Shane van Gisbergen, who's now the road race hero, which he'd had more of on the Sunday, against his young upstart teammate, just turned 19, this Connor Zilic, who everyone's raving about. They wanted to run in Chicago. I think Shane van Gisbergen gave Zilic with a nudge on a restart to take the lead, pushed him out of the win. So they raced close, and they had an amazing race at Sonoma when Zilic was right behind him and Shane won it. Anyway, Shane was in the lead, but he obviously didn't have the quickest car. Zilic was on his tail for lap after lap after lap. But they were then being caught. Who was in third, so there was pressure on Zilic to come on, get on, Shane, or get over. But they've got no track limits there, of course. So apart from, I think, the bus stop chicane. So the penultimate corner, Zilic went round the outside and Shane pushed him and they all both off the track. But as he came back on Zilic, you don't have to, because that's still track. It's not as if you're coming back in the British standards. If you rejoin the circuit, you have to give way to traffic on the circuit. So Shane didn't give him much room for Zilic to come back on. Anyway, turned Van Gisbergen into the barriers big time. So Zilic went on to win the race, almost getting his own back for Chicago. But then while celebrating, the other headline press was more the fact that when he was standing on the side door, where the netting comes out, he tripped and fell.
I saw. Awful.
Still broke his. He was knocked unconscious.
Yeah,
broke a collarbone. But he was at the track the next day. But Shane's great. Shane's still. He's like a child that's just suddenly come into this dreamland where he's dreamt of racing for so long, having won the Aussie Supercars for a couple of years, I think. Or he's won Spa 24 Hours. I think he's been around the world doing stuff. Shane. And when he's asked, he says, "Yeah, well, that wasn't ideal." I said, but he doesn't sort of get cross. He's just got a huge contract, I think, 3 or 4 years to stay now in the NASCAR world with this team Trackhouse. So he's just living on a bubble, and he just smiles, all completely shaven-headed, big smiling, sweating head. Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but he doesn't get cross with anyone. Absolutely wonderful. So that was the Saturday race entertainment. Then, of course, the Sunday, we had the 40 cars, including Catherine Legg, not having such a good run. I think she finished 36th or 37th, so she was at the back. But we actually have got a dull cup race. After all the excitement of trucks and Xfinities, it was like quite a pedestrian cup race with very few yellows. Carl Larson had a brake failure problem. He had to cause one of the full course yellows. Van Gisbergen just drove away. He won by 11 seconds, which, in NASCAR terms, around a track is horrendous for the rest of the embarrassed Americans who can't work out how he does it. And because he lost the race last year, so he was actually having a bit of a go before the race. He says, "I'm still embarrassed," because he was leading on the last lap a year ago, and he went too quick through the bus stop, ran wide going through the carousel, and who was it came up the inside and gave him a tap and got through? Tap. Chris Boucher beat him last year, so he's still upset that he made that error a year ago. So redemption was his, and he won the race and kicks his rugby ball into the crowd. It was all great stuff. It's just entertaining. Even though that race was a bit processional, there's still plenty of action going on around the great. It's the lovely Watkins Glen. Of course, had Formula One there from 1961 to 1980 around Watkins Glen. So it's a historic track, but it's an old-fashioned narrow circuit, barriers both sides, and the Xfinity boys did a lot of damage to the barriers on the Saturday. So a lot of entertaining. I enjoyed it. It's just racing. You may not think the cars are that sophisticated, but they're pretty hard to drive. And the best driver, gets through the win.
So in terms of the cars, because we're coming on to Aussie Supercars next, how similar are the NASCARs to the Aussie Supercars? Other than they've all got V8s.
I'd imagine they're very, very similar. I think the Aussie Supercars are maybe more sophisticated suspension permitted, maybe more independent. I don't know.
They look more like race cars.
But they're lower, don't they? A bit lower to the ground. They look more refined. More refined.
Mm.
So I expect the NASCAR boys have kept quite a few old-fashioned bits.
And I think the NASCAR cars, I don't know, maybe they're set up for aero a little bit different, but they seem to have lots of things covered, where the Aussie Supercars still look like proper cars.
Road cars, yeah.
Yeah,
because Aussie Supercars was the other big entertainment of the weekend.
Yeah.
Around the other side of the world, in Ipswich, at the Queensland Raceway near Ipswich. They hadn't been there
since
Brisbane,
actually. It's near Brisbane, not Ipswich.
Ipswich is the town.
Yeah.
Nearest.
Is it Ipswich close to it, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's Queensland.
okay.
It's near Brisbane as well.
It's very close to to Brisbane, but I didn't know it was.
Well, I think Ipswich is the little village next door.
I used to live there when I was a kid. I should know that, shouldn't I?
And it's this Paperclip track, again, an interesting track. That's, again, only 2 miles round with 26 V8s roaring round it. Only 6 corners, all pretty long U-bends. And I think all the crowd could pretty much see the whole track pretty much. It's just in a big flat area. But I think they had loads of support races, they had motorbike races, they had aircraft going over. So it was a huge festival,
Well, they had.
enjoying the return.
Yeah, I saw they had the record crowd because they had a hiatus. It hadn't been there for 6 years. They had
Yeah.
their record crowd. But back in the 2000s, they used to get 60,000
Oh,
over
did
the
they?
course of the three
Oh,
days.
this said
And that,
50,000 race day. I thought I read.
yeah, 51,000. No, 50. Well, I've read a conflicting thing to you because it said 51,000 over the course of the 3 days.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and
More
Ipswich
likely,
is,
more likely.
and Ipswich is where it is. So yeah, you were bang on. It's south west of
I don't
Brisbane.
make
So
things up, I don't make
I
things
know
up.
you don't. I know.
I haven't got confused with Snetterton all of a sudden, thinking it's Snetterton.
No, I know
Anyway,
Ipswich in terms of Queensland. I used to live there when I was a kid, but
it was
I
it
thought
was
it
a
was somewhere else.
it was a bit of a almost sweeping weekend for this young kid, Brock Feeney, this 22-year-old who in the Red Bull, the Triple Eight Red Bull Camaro.
Proper racing driver's name, isn't it? Brock
Yeah,
Feeney.
Brock Feeney. This is Australia this time. Get them Kiwis coming over and dominating like Shane. But he probably would have won all three races, but he jumped the start in the second race, which gave his teammate, Will Brown, who's the reigning champion, Will Brown, but Feeney's blown him away this season and he's well out of the championship lead. He won two of the three races, as I said. Will Brown won the other one. But yeah, it was great to watch. Lots of pushing, shoving, not the classic, no big classic corners, no high-speed bends. And of course, they have to stop once for tyres and refueling. So there's plenty of pit stop action. So it sounds like an entertaining, even if the Red Bull Camaro's dominated and won all three races, it looks like an entertaining weekend.
And next year we've got Toyota as well joining the fray.
Yeah. Such a shame. Shame it goes on at midnight because I can't be bothered to stay up and watch that live. But I always watch the YouTube highlights. The great thing about YouTube, all those motorsport series have got, NASCAR has them, Supercars. I just watched this morning, watched some of it, and you could they're only little 14-minute bits. So always go YouTube and have a look at what we're talking about sometimes. Yeah. So back home in Britain, the Grampian Rally, the fourth round of the Pro Bike British Rally Championship up in Aberdeen. This 27-year-old, I think, isn't it? William Crichton from Ireland had his second win of the season to go top of the points with his Toyota Yaris. He won the 2023 Junior World Rally Championship. So we've already got McAlean in World Rally Championship Ford. So it'd be great to see a couple of Irish boys like William Crichton. He says he was born in Northern Ireland. So I'm only saying that he says he's Irish on Wiki and he's got an Irish flag on his overalls, but it says he's born in Northern Ireland, but I'm not going to get involved in that. So the Irish boy, William Crichton, good win for him, but down at Thruxton. But obviously you wouldn't go from Aberdeen to Thruxton, but you should come
please tell me you went.
You should have come from Liverpool to Thruxton.
Please tell me you went to Thruxton.
Well, I didn't go because on the Saturday, you see, I was down at this little place near to me where I was watching this football game. And so I was so exhausted after the amazing win for the Saints. And I just had stuff to do. And I was watching it on the telly and highlights. And I know I didn't pop down the road. I feel guilty. But, just the crowd was there. The track looked immaculate on telly. The grass was all cut and the curbs were all painted. And but the race, I was going
to say, we've been there a few times. The day before a big event, and they go out there and they're painting all the curbs, and they don't last very long. But good on them at Thruxton.
But every race, I watched every race. A bit of fast forwarding on the telly, coming in from doing work out the garden of the house, and then watching a quick race. And just every race, you got like 10 bikes coming up Woodham Hill, vying for the lead. There's got that new spectator area, a bank on the outside of the court in the braking zone, which must be a huge, wonderful place to watch from. But you can see all around the circuit everywhere they were packed in. It's a Yamaha circuit, so I wasn't so. But it's this comeback now. Kyle Ryde, the reigning champion, is on a fight back after Bradley Ray just dominated the championship, stormed off into a huge championship lead. But the winners for Kyle Ryde won once. Then Danny Kent came through to win twice. So all last lap lunges at the chicane and stuff going on. Whereas Bradley Ray, he changed his bike. He was eighth in the first race, and then a third and a second. In fact, the only people that were at Yamaha on the podiums were both Max Cook and Christian Eden, who had a podium each for Kawasaki. But the championship is now getting interesting because Kyle Ryde, he took 18 points off of Ray at the Brands Hatch the previous round. So he took another 8 points of Ray off of Ray at Thruxton. So the gap's now down to 26. So he's actually taken 26 points off him in the last two rounds. He's got another 26 to catch up. So, but it's again like the World Championship bikes, MotoGP. The commentary seems so much better in motorbike races. They seem to just have stronger opinioned riders, making instant decisions by that was wrong, that was right, that move's wrong, that move's right. I think if you have one of these modern shouty commentators doing British Superbikes, their voice would run out by about a quarter of the distance because they'd start screaming. But no, they don't scream. We watch the racing on the telly. You can see it. You don't have to shout at me to tell me it's exciting. But great commentary team. And British Superbikes run so well. It's just such a good series.
Yeah, it is. And Bradley Ray, I mean this in a nice possible way, but he doesn't look like a motorbike racing driver. He was sort of bespectacled. No, he just looks.
When he first came on the scene, when he won the championship about 3 years ago, didn't he? I can't remember when he went off to World Superbikes. And then they all seem to struggle with the World Superbikes. They're not riders' bikes. They're all computerized suspension and traction control. But he used to have huge spiky. He looked even less like a bike rider, but he's looking slightly more normal nowadays. But yeah, but watch them. One of the, I don't know who was the big interview. I think it was Max Cook. Was talking about he was trying to win by getting through church quicker, and he said, and that's the fastest corner in the country. And the way he said it, you could tell he relished the fact that it had a circuit with the fastest corner in the country. And they're coming through that corner 120, 130 miles an hour with the back stepping out, with the wheels spinning up. There's so much overtake. It's just, there are a lot of tumbles. Tumbles happen in motorbike racing, but
big shunt.
But apparently there's. I don't think there might be broken ankles or small breaks in the limbs. But the really horrific one when he went straight in this recto cell stuff, these balloon-sized motorbike barriers. So he was still. I was expecting him to come out the top of the barrier like a Superman, but he went into this recto cell. Two of them tumbled at the same time, and apparently. I can't find out, but there's no, serious injuries.
Incredible.
I'm sure there are a lot of broken bones and battered pieces. Yeah. But incredibly, they all survived. But well done, Thruxton. What a show!
Yeah, and well done, BSB. It's one of the best. It's one of the best championships around. There's no question.
Of course, there's so many races when you're there. Well, the races just non-stop.
Yeah.
7 different classes. You don't sit around waiting for a driver's parade and stuff.
This is what gets me with Formula E. It could be really good, but there's just nothing going on in between. You've got qualifying in the morning, 4 hours, and then you've got the race. That's not the way to get fans in through the gate. It might be on TV, but not through the gate.
Yep.
What's up next week?
Well, next weekend, motorbikes again at the Star Turn. MotoGP go to Austria, Red Bull Ring, where they always get pretty big crowds. Big limity track though there for the motorbikes. So trying not to touch the green. Of course, if they touch the green on the last lap, it's 5 seconds. So very track limited, but still, it will be spectacular. Can anyone beat Marc Marquez? I very much doubt it. But the Ducatis, they're coming closer. The Yamahas and Ducatis, and it's getting tighter. But
poor old Alex, Mark will win the championship, then he'll let Alex win a couple of races. By which time the Ducatis and the Yamahas will catch him up and start winning the races on merit.
Yeah. NASCAR go to Richmond, back to their oval routes for the 0.7 mile short track race. Only 2 rounds to go now before we head off for the playoffs. So there's still 3 places to be picked from people who haven't won. So points will be important, but 2 or 3 drivers in the last 2 rounds have died. Daytona's the final one, and that's always a lottery. So someone at the back of the field could win Daytona and suddenly be promoted to the playoffs. So excitement over there. That's going to be entertaining. And of course, back home, we've got the BTCC boys up at Knockhill, which you've already mentioned, which is all right. Again, a huge crowd up there. Great spectators track. If you're in Scotland, go to Knockhill. Drivers leaping and diving and pushing and shoving and the battle between, but it's really down to Sutton and Ingram now, really, I think, for the title. But,
you can't say this very often about a motorsport event in Scotland, but take your SPF 50 if you're going, because the weather's going to be good. Yeah, it's going to be great weather.
Even in Scotland?
Even in Scotland.
Even at Knockhill?
Incredible.
Sorry, I've been there. There were some wonderful days when you could see right.
Me too. I love it up there.
So,
and one of the only courses, one of the only tracks in the world that you can go clockwise and anti-clockwise for an official race.
I remembered that we had this anti-clockwise story last week or the week before that. I remembered Rockingham was anti-clockwise.
Oh, wow.
But sadly, it is no more.
So Housing Estate now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what's a car park for manufacturers' unsold cars, I think, more than anything else. But that's another world, isn't it? Selling cars.
On
Good.
that note,
Good to have you back
week.
in England, Paul. Nice to see you back.
It's good to be back. Really good to be back. I'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Well, I'll see you on Friday, but see everyone else next week.